A friend of mine asked me to run a financial literacy class, and this is what we covered. So my question to you is this: if someone actually woke up and asked you to teach someone about how you think about money, how you perceive money, and how you're making money right now, and if you could go backwards in time, what would you have done to change a couple of things that you didn't know that you know right now? Okay, so that's what happened to me. I ran this class, but I have first had doubt on whether I should participate in the class to run the class or not. So he has like a cohort based business, and I think in this 1 week they were covering finances, and I was just called in to share my ideas. My first instinction was not to do it, but then I've learned something along the way that to help someone, you only have to be one step ahead of them. So what did I do? I asked for the profiles of the people who are going to be in the class, and then guess what? They sent them over. I look through, and then I see, okay, I think I'm a couple of steps ahead of the people who are going to be in the class. I was like, okay, I can run the class. So I came back down and said, how would I teach someone about money, how to get to the bag, like they always say? And these are a couple of notes that I wrote. I just came up with this in like a good sitting. So these are not all my ideas, but these are things I've also learned along the way, and they give me a frame through which to look at the world. Okay, so what did we cover? The first thing was this. We covered an aspect of knowing thyself, because this is my thing. I'm thinking that trying to make chasing money, I can call it chasing money. I don't like if you call it chasing money, gives it like a bad connotation, because if you wake up every day to chase something, it doesn't give you a good vibe during the day. So there's that part about the language that you put around money. So that was one of the things we talked about. So knowing thyself, and the knowing thyself that we talked about from what I wrote over here was to track how you spend your money. So there is the part where you earn, but then the first thing is to track where the money goes. And part of where the money goes would be, for us sitting here, check how much money you're sending in mobile money, track, see how much money comes out from your bank, and then see what you spend the money on. Okay. And when I asked some of the people, they talked about maybe they spend a lot of money on food, rent, the basics. One of the ladies was actually like married or something, and she had a kid with whoever she was. So there's that part where if it's even a combined income in a household, how do you manage that? I'm not a specialist around that, so I didn't even try to go in that direction. All I said is, okay, in this assumption is we are tracking your money, not our money. Okay, that's what we looked at. Then we asked about like to run a Google search of what they are feeding their mind with, especially on the money side, and everybody had to go through their phone and see what social platforms are they consuming information on, and if in any case money as a subject is something that they're actually trying to learn about. Because the thing about money on the money side, that is from my personal experience, is you're creating your curation of the environment, especially on the information side. So that's one big thing they actually had to look at. Then another test on knowing thyself was what the people they keep around, who are the people who influence them the most. If it's a family member, the biggest one we did find in this discussion was the person who is going to affect your money decisions the most is going to be the person you sleep with, the one you spend the most time with, especially if you're like in a relationship. How they react around money is going to affect you. So that was another thing we had to analyze. Then the practical part that we did was to do a personality test. So when you look through all things on personality, you're going to find that when you conduct the test, you see how you react in situations. So the one of the frameworks that the one I'm very, very familiar with is the green, yellow, red, and blue test, meaning in this framework, people who are greens, who come out as greens from the personality test, are normally the people who look at attention, who have attention to detail. That's a big one on them. So you find people who are very detail oriented at that side, and sometimes you find that people's career choices can actually be guided by the personality that they take on from the personality test. Okay, then the next one that we look at in that framework is a red. Reds are normally the aggressive people, they are go-getters, so you know someone like that. Yellows are very peace-loving, they like to make sure that people around them don't have issues, so there is the people who bring people together and make sure that there is peace and harmony in the group. You know someone like that who keeps people together. Then the blue people are very usually the life of the party, very spontaneous. They make a decision, do the thing, and think about the decision later. They deal with the repercussions of their decisions later. So you find that that's a good frame. But the one we looked at here was as homework for this know thyself part was for people to go ahead and do a personality test. And the one that I was referring to here was the Myers-Briggs. There's plenty on the market. I know I've seen one from Ray Dalio. If you're familiar with Ray Dalio's work, I know that I've seen a good one done, but then I don't know how many users it has, but it's one of those good ones I've also seen. But I pushed these guys to do the Myers-Briggs, know thyself. And one of the influences that I was thinking about as well here was on the spiritual side, because you'll find that different people who subscribe to different religions, quote unquote, think about money in different ways because that is what is preached to them. So you'll find, for example, if you're originally like Catholic, very, very Catholic, there's been a tendency where you find from what is preached mainly, there is that thing of poverty, is piety, there is that humbleness. So you find that what is taught to you through your religion is going to be affecting how you think about money. So you find that there's that part where if you have too much money, it's a good thing when you test it from the extreme side. Do you feel good with a lot of money, or do you feel good with little money? So you'll find that one of those tests can be, if I have a lot of money, do I feel guilty that I actually have too much? That is actually a good test to see that. It checks on how your belief system is riding on your perception of money. So that was a good one. We covered that know thyself factor, because for most of the things you do, if you give a person tactics without the mindset done, so we had an issue. So the way we broke it down on the framework at the beginning was, I remember I see this in the corner here, and we just said what we're going to deal with today is mindset. So the know thyself part is mindset. The second one is skill set, and then the tool set. So mindset, skill set, tool set was the framework which I ran the class on. The next thing that we talked about was money goals. And to do the money goals, we had a small exercise. And the small exercise had to do with drawing a whole line. I'm going to just draw one here, much as I have one. Okay, let me just see it. Maybe you guys can see it here. So to draw a timeline, and then we can estimate and say, if you split it up into these portions, we gave 8 years the extreme end, meaning if it's a lifetime and you're finding out how long are you going to be living, so you'll see that you can see how much time. So I remember one of the girls was in her just past 20 or somewhere around there, so she would have to mark there. Myself, I had to mark somewhere on this bar, the 40 bar. And then the question became, how much time do you have to get your stuff together, right? So the people who, if you don't, because the whole thing was this, the premise was this, if you don't like the result you have right now on this timeline, it means that we have made a couple of bad decisions in the past. So the only way to change the result is to think about things in a different way. And that's when I told the class that I was grateful that actually they were in the class, because they were trying to be intentional about their money decisions. Okay, so when we did that on the timeline part, the whole thing went to the fact that how much time do you have to get your stuff together? And one of the stories that I did have, which was like a recent experience, I don't know about where you work, but at my workplace, every time there is a person who passes on, they normally send like a profile on them. And for this particular case, the person had retired in 1994 and had died in 2024. So in my, much as there is sadness to that, in my head I was wondering to myself, how much runway did a person have if they retired in 1994? By then, I don't know, maybe they had retired early, whatever it is. But I'm saying is, by the time you choose to retire at that time, and then you leave, I think that is like 30 years almost. Yeah, like 30 years. How much runway do you need to be able to live on post-retirement for 30 years? I think even the pension schemes, I think the money you are earning at retirement in 1994 doesn't make any sense to be getting as a pension right now in 2024. That is something that I did think about. So we're looking at that thing of like, where are you right now? The past is the past. You made your mistakes. Now let's think about it differently. But then also, you're capped by the end because we do not know how much more time we have. So there's a whole thing of being efficient with your time. So that was a hard reality, but it was one of those things that I also found of like, how much time do we really have? And when we try to split up on a timeline, and the person, all of them at that point, you are part of the exercise was to note down how much they earned at this point in time a month. So I know that I kind of tried to push the group into the direction of big amounts of money just for them to have a different reality, but I could see that they were mainly choosing to work with smaller numbers. So the number we worked with for this exercise was 1 million Uganda shillings. 1 million Uganda shillings is just almost like something slightly over $150. Like almost slightly over $160, somewhere there. I'm estimating with the dollar rate, but that's what I'm looking at of like, if a person earns 1 million. So if a person earns 1 million, the exercise we did was to split up 1 million in earnings into an hourly rate. So they did with a couple of assumptions. So if you do 1 million for every week, it's going to be 250,000. 250,000 is just over $100. Okay, I'm just trying to make the conversion. So 300,000 Uganda shillings. Okay, so if we split the 250, we're talking about 250,000 per week in this case. Work with me here. So 250,000, if you split it up in 5 days, this is an assumption you work 5 days, means a person is getting 25,000 for 10 hours of work, right? Yeah, I think I'm working well. But at the end of the day, we reached that when you split up also to the hourly rate, it reached a point that if a person who earns 1 million, they were working for 5,000 Uganda shillings. That is slightly over $1. Yeah, just slightly over $1. Maybe like 1.8, almost $1.6, somewhere there. Anyway, so the person was like, so the message was this, that if the vehicle you choose right now is the job, much as here in our country we are not paid by the hour, we are paid by the month, it means that the organization, what the organization is telling you at that moment is that if we pay you, every time we see you in our organization, you're worth 5,000 shillings to us. So then the question became, do you see yourself as a 5,000 shillings person, or do you see much more of yourself? So if you don't like that answer, because they already see you that way, then it's within your own responsibility and view or something to change how someone else perceives you. That's the way I was looking at it. And I could see that was one of the hard conversations, because everybody had to calculate. So if a person was earning 5 million, it meant it's 5 times more the rate they could see there. And one of the things we went into was on the highest areas where they spend money was, everybody said money. I think I spoke about this a bit earlier. They talk about money being spent on food and maybe rent as the highest one. But then when we did the analysis, the highest constant expense a person had was taxes. And choosing the vehicle of employment is choosing taxes to be the thing that takes the most of your money consistently without breaks every year. Okay, so depending on where a person is with their money, is what the amount of tax they pay is determined by. Okay, so we looked at that.